Oh boy, yeah, this got a lot closer than it should have. Like, be the king of the town.
We're gonna watch Magnus Carlsen's stream as he was playing live against Alireza Firouzja, and we'll analyze the game as well.
Now this was a horrible game. 5 mistakes, 3 blunders, 1 miss. I'm gonna go h4 again. a6? Okay, then e4. I mean, I'm always gonna play e4 if I get the chance. I think h4 also here, like in most always the hashtag air quality. I think h4 is always useful here. It does maybe get a square for the knight on g4, but I'm not sure that's relevant. Why is he doing this? Ah, no. Maybe he gets some knight c3 then. I mean, he was threatening knight before, but now I can just drop the bishop back. And if queen b6, I can go bishop e3, but I can also consider d5. Knight g4 immediately. It's interesting. I feel like I should put the bishop on f4. Knight g4 somehow doesn't pass the smell test. Wow, he's really playing aggressively. What's his plan? Just wants to fortify the knight. What if I go d5 now? Looks very strong to me. d5 takes, if a3, d4. Maybe castles is even stronger. Problem is I'm feeling a bit of a headache again. It's not good when you're playing somebody as tactically proficient as a French guy. Okay. I was sort of expecting that because I didn't see alternatives, but now I have a bit of a free hand. a3, de, bishop e4, knight d5, I don't see it, so let's just take the strategic edge. Have a4 if I want.
Before we watch the second part of the game and the stream, where Magnus played a spectacular combination against Alireza, let's rewind a little bit how the action took place in the opening. 1 h4, a6, e4, b5. Already we know it's a new positions. Both players are playing on their own. They're avoiding the non-theory openings. This is brand new territory. And here, very interesting, with black, Alireza play 9g4. Why is he playing that move? Because white has moved h4, h2, h4, and black will be able to support that knight. So that's what Alireza is trying to take advantage of white opening with 1 h4. And here we go, h5 played. So Alireza think, well, Magnus, you're trying to get out of the theory, but I have an excellent outpost on g4. And Magnus says, oh, that's fine. Let's do castle. I bring my king to safety. And now I'm always threatening d5 and e5. And that bishop here is brilliantly placed on that diagonal. So here d5, and very interesting, e5. So we can see that Magnus loves positional play, and the center is blocked, and black has essentially 2 pawns over here and can try to bring some attack, and white will have some play on the king side. Very positional. King g2, king safety, very important. Now, this is around where I stop the video. I play a few more moves here. g6, so Alireza is trying to put his king to safety. He likes to keep the rook over here with a knight. That could be a dangerous combination. The game goes on, lot of maneuvering, and now, later in the game, after king g7, Magnus plays bishop g5. And his plan is to infiltrate the black camp and the dark squares. That is plan. And we can see here, black has not tons of counterplay on the queen side. So queen d8, of course, Alireza would love to exchange queens, but Magnus says no thank you. Now in this position, black to play, Alireza had to force the matter with f6. He plays queen e7, waiting move, knight g5, very nice. And here again, he had to try the f6. And then here, you don't want to exchange the queen d2, and the game goes on, let's say. This would be the kind of position you would get. Instead, in this position, knight f5 played, f3, the knight goes back to h6, g4, excellent move, knight c4, b3, the knight has to go back to a5, rook a b1, knight g8, trying to relocate the knight, and here, king safety. King g3 played, and it's amazing like Magnus combines attack, like knight g5 and queen f4, and defense. The king was on g1, goes to g2, and goes to g3 to avoid any complications if the long diagonal opens up. Now we're on move 30th, king g3, and that's where the fireworks start. So let's go back to the tape and see how Magnus finishes the game.
Yeah, I think I can sort of win without calculating too much, so I'll try and do that. I missed knight f4, knight d4. But now I got bishop g6. Should just win. Okay. I thought I was trapping his knight. But I'm actually not. Okay, I can still take this. Check. Check. What am I doing? Oh boy, yeah, this got a lot closer than it should have.
Alright, what a finish. That was beautiful. If you go to the end of the game, what happened over here is black has only one move and you capture on d4. So Magnus tricked Alireza with a fantastic tactical idea over here. But how did that happen? Let's go back to king g3 when we left it the first time around. The queen here on d2. attacks e5, the knight removes, and here, during the stream, Magnus says that black cannot take on d4. And that's because bishop g6, and if you take back the bishop, I take the knight with overwhelming advantage. And on bishop g6, if you try to sack the knight, I will take it, and then here, the knight e6 with a fork and an easy win. So over here, bishop c8 is played. Alireza is trying to defend against the knight forks. Rook c1, trying to get control on the c file. And here, finally, knight d4. So at this moment, I thought, because Magnus had in mind bishop g6, I thought here the move was bishop g6. But Magnus didn't play that because of knight b3. And this time around, black has a fork, so you have to move the queen, and the game is complicated. Instead, queen c3 attacks the knight, and the knight seems to be lost, except that Alireza with black spot the only way to defend the knight on d4. And over here, I was thinking that queen c7 was a nice move, because if you look at this position, it looks overwhelming for white. Let's say on this move, I can even take on g6. But in this position, tactics, bishop takes g6, black takes, and Magnus recaptures. Now keep in mind that before he played king g3, in that defense, the h4 pawn. Otherwise, over here, black would play rook takes h4. Now you may ask bishop g6 sack, but what happened if black would take the knight? Here you have two winning lines. After the game, queen d4 was mentioned by Magnus because over here we have a fork, black takes, white takes. We go back to that tactical motive and you win back the queen. But over here you can do queen c7, which is a chess and latte recommendations, and you go like that, and you're gonna win again because the king has to move, and the king moves, you can simply win like that. So, long story short, bishop g6, crushing sack, and here, knight h6 played. And in the game, Magnus repeats the move. So he gives a check, king move, gives another check, gains some time on the clock, and after the king g8, Alireza will be happy with a draw. And here, beautiful stuff. Because queen takes c8, queen sack is played. But during the stream, the bishop is touched or almost touched by Magnus, and he wants to play bishop g3. But why not bishop d1? On that, knight e2, and this is black having a very powerful fork. Now, on bishop g3, the game will go on because you can try to go and play like that. So instead, queen c8 at the last moment, deadly tactics. Of course, black cannot take because you get checkmate on the 8th rank, and the knight covers all the squares. So on queen c8, a check is given, king safety, knight takes c1, and here we have many moves to wins, knight e6 win, bishop h7 wins, but Magnus plays in a hurry, queen c1 is low on the clock. Queen d4 is played, trying desperately to have some counterplay and attacking over here, but there's a check, and here simply bishop f7. And that's a brilliant sack because let's say if you move the queen, I can deliver a checkmate thanks to these knights. But instead, captured, and then, as you can see here, knight e6, and we have the deadly fork. So that's a very nice way to finish the game. Once again, knight e6, you win the queen. So Alireza decided that that was game over. So here we have two threats, knight h5 and knight e6 to clinch the game. I thought there was a fantastic game by Magnus playing in a title tournament. He's playing against Firouzja. They're both in the lead at that moment. He plays one h4, freestyle in the opening, and shows deadly tactics at the end after positional domination. So that game had it all. I spent some time analyzing. I hope you appreciate that. Feel free to leave your comments, drop a like, and I'll see you in the next one.